Ever wonder what sets the winners apart from the losers? And what does it really mean to be a winner? My name is Federico, and I'm a young, successful entrepreneur passionate about sports, business, mindset, and real estate. If you are just like me and you want to crack the code to victory, then Winning Ways podcast is made for you. Yo, welcome back to Winning Ways with Fred. My name is Federico and I'm your host. Guys, I have a very special episode for you guys. We're going to talk about the real estate market, specifically in Lake Tahoe with a professional real estate agent who works with plenty of investors and crushes it up there. But first and foremost, please share the show if you find value, which you will today. Not running ads on this show. Even when I become a top 3 show worldwide, it will be grown via word of mouth. Now, without further ado, Ryan Smith, how are you, man?
I'm doing very good. Thank you so much for having me, Fred.
Yeah, man. Thank you for coming. So let's get started, man. You're in Lake Tahoe. You're a real estate investor there, and you're very passionate about the area. I'm not too familiar with that market, but talk to us about that market, how it's going, how's the investments in that area, and what do you think the next couple months are looking like there?
Well, Lake Tahoe is a destination place in California and Nevada. We share the border with Nevada, so we get a lot of crossover from the Bay Area of California coming to have a vacation spot. We're highly sought after in the winter as well as the summer. Summer's days spent out on the lake on a boat. In winter, we have world-class ski resorts all around us. So as far as the market goes, that's the draw. In my opinion, I think Lake Tahoe is one of the most undervalued resort destination towns in the United States. I mean, you look at our median price, it's gone up, but let's say it's still in the 700-800s. That's far lower than places like Vail, Aspen, Breckenridge, Park City.
Yeah.
And we have a lake in the summer. So that's a little bit about the lake. As far as the market goes, we saw a big push coming in with the work from home and interest rate money that came in through 2020. We had a lot of tech decide to leave the Bay Area, decide to get out of places like San Francisco, San Jose, even a little Central Valley from Sacramento, coming up and buying homes in Lake Tahoe because Tahoe's, in my opinion, more beautiful than San Francisco, and people wanted to have that active lifestyle. So they decided, all right, it's cheaper for me to buy a 5-bedroom cabin up here in Lake Tahoe than it is for me to buy a 2-bedroom condo in San Francisco, and I can work from home. Why would I stay? So we saw a surgence of money coming into our market that skyrocketed prices, of course. I'm an agent licensed in both California and Nevada. So I worked with a variety of folks, from everyone from investors looking to have investment properties and build portfolios here at the lake, to second home buyers, to people curious about our ability to Airbnb, vacation home rental, all the way leading me now to 2022, where I do all of that. And I'm also tapping into the hospitality business and selling hotels and things like that.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So how'd you get started in the real estate game?
Real estate was never my passion. I think that's what people, you can look at me. I obviously love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, but it was never my passion to begin with. I sort of spent a lot of my younger years in life trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do and what filled my heart. And finally, it came to a point where I had done all the things I was supposed to do. I had gone to school. I was working with Apple at the time. I had a great tech job with an awesome trajectory in a great company. And ultimately, I didn't have the freedom that I wanted, and I was still waiting for somebody else to open doors for me. And that bothered me. I didn't want to live the rest of my life that way. At the time, I had already lived in Lake Tahoe for a few years while I was between college transitions, and I had met my previous broker while I was his banker at US Bank, because I tried to be an entrepreneur and decided that wasn't going to work out as well when I was 20. So I went to the School of Life and got a job with US Bank to sort of learn finance and money.
Yeah.
And I had met him at the time. So fast forward 3 years, he kind of says, hey, I've started my own brokerage. Come on up. Let's see what you can do. I had turned him down at the time because I was very excited about Apple, and there was a lot more security in the corporate world than there was in the real estate market. But eventually that freedom came knocking at my heart again. And although it wasn't my passion, I decided and sort of understood, 86% of America's wealth is in real estate. It's arguably the largest transaction that most people ever make in their entire lives. And I was very good at sales. So I wanted to sell the biggest product with the highest return. And
Yeah.
for what I could figure, real estate was that. And I had a mentor opening up the door for me. So I stepped through that, and that was 3.5 years ago. So late summer 18, I started in July or sorry, 19. And I had, kind of a slow half year, but I just started getting the wheels running, and it was just my broker and I at the time. So I didn't come from a place where I got my license, jumped in with like a Keller Williams or something along those lines,
Yeah.
had a plethora of training with a CRM already built out. All of that was self-made. I had to shop what I wanted to use. My broker had his way of doing things, and I was left to figure out how I wanted to do things. So my beginnings were very bootstrap and very startup in a lot of ways. For example, I mean, to make a long story short, we didn't have a social media, so I was doing everything on that end. And yeah, I've been in it for 3 years, and now fast forward to present day, I'm one of the top agents with Compass here in town. I've got a team that I'm building. We've got 4 agents now, some of which I've sold property to and have decided to follow in my tracks. And we're a 10 million plus producing team. So we're very excited to be where we are, and kind of our goals and visions going forward is to expand into different investment areas, as well as to continue to just grow our team base.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. First and foremost, I want to say respect, man, because most people wouldn't leave Apple. Apple is the great one, arguably one of the greatest companies in the world right now, if not the best company in the world. Security, growth, Apple, just like the status of you working at Apple for most people, that could just make them stay. And you decided to leave. Now, I know you said your passion was in real estate, but it seems like your passion is more freedom of time, which real estate provides you that more than Apple did at the time, right? But all
Absolutely.
around, man, a winning story because you didn't settle, and now you're building a team, 10 million, and looking to expand. That's awesome. That's great. Now, in regards to the market in Lake Tahoe, that's something I'm pretty interested in because I had a couple buddies go. I didn't even know they had ski resorts out there. I thought it was only lakes and beach vibes, right? But
Mhm.
is it primarily short-term rentals? Is the market primarily more for Airbnbs and
No,
or
that's a really interesting question, and one I get asked a lot.
yeah,
Um, the short story of it is there's no real ability to Airbnb, or a very minor ability to Airbnb. There was a measure put in place 3 years ago called Measure T that is sort of sweeping across the country. Sedona, Arizona is about to adopt it. South Lake was one of the first around Lake Tahoe, but we've seen the West Shore, Incline Village in Nevada, and Truckee and Placer County all sort of take their own variations of this. And Measure T is a constraint restriction ordinance on the ability to vacation rent. They first start off by only allowing certain permits, a select amount of permits to go out.
mhm,
And South Lake Tahoe took it further to say only permits will be offered in select areas. So this took place 3 years ago, and it's a very touchy subject because on one hand, you know, I, I can hear the side of the story where some of these vacation rentals, next to your $2 million homes, being loud, parties every single night, I can understand how that would get frustrating. But there's also property rights, and many people lost their ability to afford property in Tahoe because they no longer could short-term rent it, and that was their source of income. And it was a way to offset the mortgage, a way that they could come up and use it for a few months out of the year while still, staying cash flow positive on it. So the why is sort of neither here nor there at this point. 3 years ago, Measure T was voted into place. We
yeah,
were on a grandfather period where no new permits were being allowed. If properties sold and you were grandfathered in with a permit, that permit did not transfer. And now if you look at South Lake, we have sort of these tourist core areas, some right by the ski resorts, others mostly outside in the county. And the rest of the lake is following suit. So is it still an opportunity for investors to do short-term rentals? Absolutely. But
Yeah.
you need to get with an agent or with a team who understands how to navigate this, because you're not going to close on a property and the next day put it on Airbnb and be able to rent it. You need to understand what the permit process is like, how much are on the wait list. There's all sorts of factors that you have to really work with somebody who's skilled to help you navigate what's going to be the best area for you and what's the best property for you. Does that answer your
It
question?
does. It does. It does. And that's why it's so important to have a good realtor and a good team trying to find you the properties. So if you're in Lake Tahoe, definitely follow Ryan Smith. His Instagram will be on the notes later on, guys, and he'll share it later on. But yeah, it's important to have a good realtor that understands the permits, understands comps, what the rental rates are going to be, so you can maximize your profits within the rental rates. Ryan, so it seems like you got it going well with the real estate game and the realtor game too. What would you recommend for somebody that's looking to start off in the real estate as an agent like yourself? What would be the first steps for them to take?
I always live by Jim Rohn's golden rule. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I would take a serious inventory of, sorry, we've got the dogs here. I would take a serious inventory of who's all in your inner circle and who do you want in your circle, right? There might need to be some separation between people who are influencing you that aren't exactly there to get you to where you'd like to be. To get into real estate, yes, people want to say, oh, you've got to hustle, you've got to be willing to work. Yes, all that is true. But if you're not around people who are already doing that at a level that you're doing it at, or that you'd like to, you're going to fail, because you can have the best mentor, but doesn't have any time for you. You're not going to be where you want to be. You can have the best friend, but he's not a great mentor, and you're not going to be where you want to be. You need to surround yourself by people who understand real estate, both from a factual, contractual side. So the terms, the contracts, the legalities, the compliance aspect of it, but also that are in line with the way that business is generated. And there's multiple ways you can do that. And there's not one size all fits all, right? If you wanted to get into real estate, but say you have a limited amount of time and you're a student or you're a single mom, or, you name it, maybe a team is better for you. You're going to have a lower split, but you can get in on a team that leads are coming through and you show up to work 9 to whenever you decide, and you have a method to start, call, set appointments, get into contract, and close. I don't run that kind of business. I'm social here. I love my community. I'm friends with our, gym owners. I know the people who own restaurants in town. That's who I am. And that's how I generate business. So it's a lot less predictable in some ways for somebody who wants to come and say, all right, what do I need to do to get here? So decide where you'd like to be and then partner up and get involved with a group who's going to help you get there, and leave yourself room to learn, adjust, and pivot, because you don't know what you don't like until you don't like it.
For sure, man. And it's something that I get asked a lot, right? It's like, hey, I'm looking to get into real estate, but how long will it take for me to close my first deal? Such a common question that I feel like most people that are going into real estate and being an agent have to take the long-term approach, right? I closed my first deal. I wholesaled. I was never an agent, but it took me 4 months to close my first deal. There was a lot of fake closings that I thought I was going to have with other wholesalers, and I started learning, but it takes time, and that they have to come in with that mindset, right? And there's plenty of ways to get leads on your end. You're social, gym owners and business owners, but you could touch on that too, right? How long did it take you to do your first deal?
Well, so my previous broker kind of helped put me in touch. He had sent out some mailers, and that was his big thing. He would send out mailers he'd capture all of the multifamily market in Tahoe, which in South Lake's about 1,200 properties or units. And he'd do a monthly newsletter or quarterly newsletter, simple statistics, median price, units sold, average days on market. You'll learn these things if you're interested in real estate. And that mailer ended up turning into a few clients here and there for him. And he captured a seller, and we listed the property, but also had a buyer that was searching through and had gotten one of his letters. So both were off market originally. The property went live. We found the buyer. He kept the seller and gave me the buyer. So he could kind of shadow me through that first transaction. That was my first deal, and it was a duplex. Actually, I always wanted to get into the investment side of things. Some people love watching house hunters, and they're very big into flippers, or somebody like yourself who can see the value in wholesaling and getting a property at a X price and getting it sold at another price. It just depends on what your cup of tea is. I always liked working with the investor or the aspiring investor, much more so.
Sure.
There's plenty of people who will be happy to open doors for you and answer Zillow calls and help you reimagine how the kitchen could be in your home.
Yeah.
I am much more in this game to help myself and my clients build wealth through real estate. So diving right into the duplex side of things was a great opportunity to see how one side could be used for a family to come up and ski during the winter, while the other side could be used to have a long-term tenant and help offset the cost of that mortgage. So, if you average the amount of money that they were spending on hotels or even Airbnbs at that time, now they owned their place, the meadow was across the street, and they had a long-term tenant in the unit next door that was paying for more than half of their mortgage at the time. And I'll tell you what, that same exact duplex 2.5 years ago, I think we got it into contract at 327, and it sold for just shy of 700,000 3 years later.
Nice. Let's go.
So you played multiple games there, right? Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
That was my first deal. And I'll tell you what, I have another good story because I've been training a couple agents. I don't really take on any new agents anymore.
Okay.
But one of my very good friends, he met me through, I think, a Yelp ad, which was like an experiment. I hate Yelp's advertisement, but I had been trying it out while I was testing out different things. And he and I went to go see properties. We were similar in age, went out mountain biking because that's kind of how I network and do things. And so we built that relationship and friendship. We ended up finding him for sale by owner duplex again. He put 20% down. His mortgage roughly costs him a couple $100 a month. He's got a studio in the back that is rented out really well at market rate. I love his tenants. We're all close friends. But now he's got this property 2 miles away from Heavenly Ski Resort. His mortgage costs him just a couple $100. He probably has $100,000 or more in equity. And after a year, he was able to quit his job, which was a 6-figure job, and is now working with me under my team as my top agent. And his first deal came from coming and sitting with me at open houses. And part of that bridge with Compass was partnering with some of the other top agents here around the lake and developing relationships within the inner network so that we could get in front of some of these higher end listings, these luxury properties, and just sit and hold open houses for some of these other folks. And that ended up building friendships within our own company, but it also put my agent right in front of buyers already at that tier. So then with just a little bit of coaching, a little bit of navigating and guiding for how to follow up with those conversations, how to even host an open house, I could dive in from a top level and help him understand how to begin. And he already had the people skills to follow up, to care, to invite out and see other property. And, an example of that is at an open house. And this week, actually, in a few days, he's going to close on with buyers that he met from an open house on an off-market brand new build, 2.4 million. 2.5% of that is a really nice paycheck.
That's great, man.
That cost him nothing. He didn't pay for a Facebook ad. He didn't pay for Zillow leads. He didn't do any of that. He built relationships and went out and hosted an open house, took care of the people that he met through there, went out and showed them property, which cost him gas. And now he's about ready to close. And the beautiful thing is the agent that opened the doors or allowed us to do the open house for him, this was his off-market property. Wow. So everybody won here.
Everybody wins.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And like one thing, I mean, just to emphasize how important networking is and knowing how to communicate and talk and network. Because clearly, I mean, you've said it, you've built your business and your clientele via networking, mountain biking, going and meeting people, and just like your friend did as well. And that goes to touch on how important it is to always expand and be meeting new people and putting yourself in places where you're uncomfortable, right? With people that are ahead of you, which could be a little bit uncomfortable at first, right? Now, business, great and all. But one thing I was going through your profile, right? And it caught my attention that you went to Area 51, Aubrey Marcus. And something that I've been looking to do for, I mean, he started this event, what? It's his second year or first year?
Arcadia, this was the first Arcadia
Okay.
event.
Okay. But
Yeah.
he's had other events similar.
Yeah, so Aubrey's huge. She's a brother of mine.
You
I
know
don't
him?
know him
Oh,
exactly personally. I've
okay.
met him at Area 15,
Okay.
but if you followed Aubrey's podcast,
Yeah.
you just kind of know how diverse and how incredible of a human being he is.
Yeah.
And I had not dove into the area or to the fit for service community yet, right there. I've always wanted to go to Sedona. I think Sedona is still lightly on my map for October, just
Yeah.
because of the relationships that I made at Area 15.
Yeah.
But this year, I made some commitments to further my own growth and my own path and my own spiritual development. And once you decide things and kind of put both feet in, it's amazing what life responds with. And Area 15 was one of those responses, as well as one of those commitments. And going and being around the fit for service community is exactly what you think it was. I was around all of the artists that I play in my car by myself. I met people like Savage. I met the singers from Gone Gone Beyond, and
That's
all sorts of
awesome.
different people from all walks of life. I'm meeting these people that I've admired and looked up to. And, Aubrey will have a guest on his podcast and I'll go get the book,
Yeah.
for some folks. And these are the folks you're bumping shoulders with. And I just have to say, much love and shout out to Aubrey Marcus. He took a huge risk putting that event together. It was originally supposed to be in Wyoming, and it was a $1,111 ticket cost.
Yeah.
And he decided, that the whole event is about calling in a more beautiful world. And one of those aspects is a different way of doing business. And Aubrey made the choice to switch to a donation model. And that opened up a lot of doors for a lot of people. At the same time, the city of Alpine in Wyoming canceled. And there's different versions of this story. I'd let Aubrey tell it. I think he mentions it on his podcast, but long story short, the city of Alpine caused some problems to where they had to shift and move the event. And that's where we found ourselves at Area 15. But it shrunk the artist lineup way, way down. We had a lot bigger names. Bigger is not the right word. We had different bands that I was definitely looking forward to that were no longer able to play. And some of those are just due to artist contracts and locations and things like that. But also, Aubrey took that on himself. He took that burden on himself, he and the Fit for Service team. And I talked with a few of them just via email. It's just an amazing group of people. I feel very blessed to have followed his work for the last 3 to 4 years, and getting to meet that community and be in that sort of atmosphere is exactly what you think it might be.
Yeah.
Everybody's got this high energy to them. It was an incredible experience, and I look forward to diving into the Fit for Service community even more, especially after having gone to Area 15.
Nice. I dove into Aubrey Marcus when he went to Ed Milet's podcast, and I figured I take his products. I take On It, the Total Human pills every day.
Yep.
And then I dove in, then I found this podcast, and it's different, right? Because you automatically think that it's this entrepreneur that's going to talk about business, and it's so diverse. She brings so many interesting guests, and they talk about different things. And I liked how he's trying to bring awareness to the spiritual world and consciousness, and taking care of yourself, and being high energy and all that. I'm a big fan of that. I've just started getting into that. I've been meditating for quite some time, been learning about all that stuff for quite some time, and definitely something once I saw it, I wanted to touch on it because it's something that I wanted to do, and now I'm looking forward to doing it now that you told me that story.
Buckle up, man. I highly recommend getting in touch with the Fit for Service team and making the commitment to get out there for one of their summits.
Fit for Service, you said?
Fit for Service is the group or like the coaching program that Aubrey started. But really, like, yes, Aubrey will be there, but it's not, It's awesome because you don't go there. I love Tony Robbins, right? But you go to a Tony Robbins event to hear Tony.
Yeah.
The Fit for Service team, all of their coaches bring something incredible to the table. So it's not like you just go there and you listen to Aubrey teach and talk. He's bringing breathwork teachers. He's bringing musicians. He's got master coaches that are with him in Austin that are teaching different things, everything from men's work to poetry to shadow work to archetype categorization. I mean, it's a really diverse group of people. And mind you, I've still yet to experience or have not had the opportunity to go spend time at an actual Fit for Service event, because Arcadia was a festival, it was a celebration. We had teachers and speakers, but it was music and dance and arts and foods and community and connection. The Fit for Service events, my understanding of them is it's much deeper into the work. Don't be surprised if you're doing 2 hours of breath work, or if you're in a small group doing deep shadow work into places of yourself that you haven't explored. Yeah. So there's the summit's actually going on in Sedona right now, sort of a unpaid, unaffiliated advertisement, but for anybody who's interested, get in touch with their team because it's life-changing and you might see me out there.
Yeah, for sure, man. Looking forward to meeting you out there. I'm definitely going to do it. And touching one last thing on breath work, right? Because these are things that we're not taught, right? Growing up in school. But breath, I came across the Wim Hof method. And I started doing it every morning, and I started implementing the cold showers. Dude, like it starts my day perfectly. It's Absolutely. The best way to go about with your day, and you start in a peak state, you're clear, and little things that like you start discovering and they make a big impact in your life. I definitely recommend everybody to follow Aubrey Marcus and Wim Hof method for sure. But Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast, man. Where can my audience find you?
The best way is just connect with me directly. Ryan_Tahoe at Instagram. That's at Ryan_Tahoe on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I don't hide or separate my personal life from my business life. It's all one-stop shop. So you get to see it all. You get to see what I'm doing in the real estate world, how I'm kind of tracking through our markets or market metrics, as well as the other ways I'm exploring life and all that it has to offer and discovering myself and what I'm here to do and bring and call forth. So Fred, thank you for having me. This has been a joy. For anybody who hears this and would like to connect, don't hesitate to just send me a DM. I'd be happy to answer any more questions or, take little different calls here and there to sort of help anyone who's trying to get up and on their feet.
For sure. And guys, again, his Instagram will be on the notes. Just click, follow him, send him a message. If you're in Lake Tahoe and looking to buy properties, Ryan's your guy. Ryan, thank you again, man, and looking forward to meeting you in Area 15.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome, man. Ever wonder what sets the winners apart from the losers? And what does it really mean to be a winner? My name is Federico, and I'm a young, successful entrepreneur passionate about sports, business, mindset, and real estate. If you are just like me and you want to crack the code to victory, then Winning Ways podcast is made for you.